So the strip lights have arrived. What you would have just seen me doing on the time lapse at the start of this video was sorting these out. So the lights can actually connect together and up to lengths of 3 with a little connector on the end here. So what I intend to do is I'll push those two together like so, and I'll have 4 lots of 8 strip along the ceiling, and then on the side walls I'm going to have 2 separate ones. So what I've needed to do is set up a connection on the one end, and then on the other end you don't need to plug it, you don't need to put a connector on, because the power goes through the current goes through the join in the middle there, which is quite clever. So you've only got a wire at one end. You can actually put lengths of 3 together, which I could do in the garage the opposite way around, but I'm going to go width ways. So what you saw me set out was these connectors, putting the block connectors on the end. So there'll be one for each one of these, and then one for the 2 side walls as well. So yeah, went to screw fix, picked up some cable ties to fix it to the wall and the wood, and some 1mm cable, 3/4. So yeah, let's get to the garage, get the light fittings up on the roof. They're pretty straightforward. These clips here, he says, yeah, you screw them to the ceiling and then you push the light unit into them and they simply click on. I mean, they do feel really pretty cheap, but they are £85, and the LEDs to manufacture they're really cheap, which is why the cost of lighting is a lot cheaper now. So I think they're going to look pretty good. So the fixing kit, I'll just quickly see that little end piece there, where you're not putting a power source at the back of the end, you just put that in the end just to give it a smooth finish. So yeah, let's get into the garage and let's start getting the lights up, and then I can start making the work on there. I can start on wiring them in. I've got the first pair up. There you go. That's the joint I was talking about. And then you just supply them from the one side there. So the existing light, this cable, I've ordered a junction box, a 6-way junction box. So I'll run a small bit of cable off all the ends once they're all up to the junction box, and then that light switch, the existing light switch, will supply them all. So what I'm just going to do now is plug this light and just put the power cord to these 2, just to see what it looks like with 2 out of interest. So I'll set that up now. But that's just 2, and already it's really bright. So it's going to be great to be working on the car and bringing you content, because you'll be actually able to see what I'm doing. But no flicker on the lights or anything. So yeah, pretty bright. Let's get the other sets up. Okay, so that's them all up. There's one, second one, third one, which is obviously wired in, and the 4th one here. I'm going to put one, I think, on the side actually, so a bit close with the thing, either along the bottom there or up the side here. Now, the reason why I didn't put it in the centre of the room, which is about here, is that when I've got the units in over here, they'll be that way far from the wall, which will mean that if I put a light fitting across here, it'll be covered, it'll be lighting up the top of the units, which is why the first one starts there. So I'm just going to weigh up and have a look where I think these two remaining ones left are. And I can either mount them vertically, sorry, using this phone is so bad, vertically, like so. That's annoying. Put them that way, or what I'm tempted to do, put them crossways like this, so it lights up the side of the car. I think that's what I'm going to do, and then I can hide the cable at the wall here and then link it in. In fact, what I can do, I can link it in to the end of one of these, because as I said before, you can link 3 of these in a row. So I'll wire this one in along here and then link it into the back of that one there. So I'll get on and do that now. Alright, that one's up as well. I think, again, you can't really tell on camera, but it's actually probably a bit too bright really to be mounted that way. It looks pretty good, but I'd need to dim it, and I don't think these ones are dimmable, and it's just a bit too intense, I think, really. What I probably will end up doing is lying it down, as I first said, horizontally across the bottom there, and just lights up the ground a bit more. But for now, that looks pretty smart. I'll just show you how to put the cable in. Just the end there to stop it coming taut. And I just looped it out of this one as I said I would. So yeah, that's those 3 in. So the one that's going to come down this wall here, which I'll do the same with now, setting it up, is I will loop it out of, oh, which one should I do? Yeah, I should be able to just come out of this one, no problem, go down there. So yeah, it's coming together. It's a shame I haven't got the junction box at the minute, so that I can wire them all up. But in the meantime, what I'll do is I'll just link all these up and put the cables to where the jump box is going to be, which should be about there somewhere. So I'll set that up now, and then tomorrow lunchtime when the part comes in at Screwfix at midday, I'll be able to come in and just put it all into the junction box and hopefully turn it all on. It'll all work. So yeah, let's crack on with that for now anyway. So I've now wired in 4 of the lights, and it's pretty bright. I can't believe there's actually 6 more lights to go on. 1, 2, 3 and 4. Then there's obviously this row here and the row above me, and then one all the way over here as well. So I mean, it's given a good balance of light, and it's going to be a lot better to bring content, especially when it's darker in the evenings, or just even in the daylight. Even when the garage door is open and this side door is open, it's still not illuminated as much as it would be outside. But I'm really happy. I mean, the light is a really cool white instead of a warm light, which is what you prefer in like an office or a garage, as opposed to a house where you want it warmer. So it's a lot better for working in. It is quite stark, but yeah, really happy with that. I've also had a call from the powder coaters to say that the remaining bits I dropped off last week are ready, so I'm going to go and grab those now, and yeah, I'll get back to you shortly, and hopefully next time you see me we'll be collecting the remaining, or pretty much the remaining powder coated parts for the car to rebuild. And then at that point, as soon as I've finished cleaning this damn gearbox and engine, I'll then be able to really fully reconstruct the engine together, and that's going to be a nice thing to see all the supercharger on and make sure I've got all the parts required. Yeah, in fact, that reminds me, obviously I've still got to finish stripping this, but yeah, anyway, let's go to the powder coaters and get the rest of the bits. Okay, back with the parts. Let's get them, let's open them all up and see what we got. Okay, so the centre section and decap just been shot blasted, just stripped the back of all that red paint. Just put them in there for now. The hubs have been shot blasted, powder coated, and as I mentioned in the previous video, they masked it off here as not to get any on there. I may have to run this fine line on there and take it off the face of this part here as well, because I believe that actually butts up against the bearing, so I'll have to do that slightly. This bearing, the majority of it's been pushed out. I've got 2 new bearings coming, so as soon as they arrive I'll go and take this and get the remaining of the old bearing pushed out and the whole of this bearing pushed out, and get the 2 new fitted, and once they're fitted I can mount them back onto here. As I said, I'll take it off both of these, just that lower lip, I'll just sand it off with the drill again, and then that means these will mount on there. I've got 2 new caps that I've had posted for a couple of pounds, and a new bolt and nut, sorry, so I'll put that on. I think it's, from memory, I think it was 300 newton meters, but I'll have to get that checked to the torque rating to put these up, but they're going to look great. And one last thing to mention is I didn't get the face of these powder coated, and the reason for that is this is where the wheel sits onto the hub. So if you've got powder coat over time, or when it gets hot and the slight, say ½ millimeter of powder coat comes off, the wheel may sit on here wonky and eventually work its way loose. So that's always something worth doing, and it's the same when you get wheels powder coated. It's just to be aware of. So if I show you the back of this wheel here, if you notice, powder coat has been put on here, so you may have the same problem there. So once you fit wheels like this after they've been powder coated, it's very important that after a few miles or whatever, you just recheck the nuts and make sure they're all torqued to spec, and then again after probably 500 miles or 1,000 miles, just keep checking them, because if this face wears off, the wheel will eventually come loose. Usually if a wheel's coming loose, you will feel it through the steering wheel and it'll give you a bit of notice, but it's always best just to, as I said, if you have powder coating done, just to make sure any 2 faces that match, you give them a good clean off. So that's the reason why the hub face is left not powder coated, and why you should always check your wheels once you've had them powder coated. So the springs, these were yellow originally. If you remember, I said I'll get them done silver. It was just easier that way. These mount something like that. There's all the other parts done. They're looking pretty good. The part that goes onto the back of the supercharger, let me just show you quickly on here if I can. It goes something like, should we go it right way around? Yeah, it goes something like that, and it will forced induction, so the air is pressurized here and it's forced through here, then it will go into the intercooler and then into the inlet. So the reason why I didn't get this shot blasted is that it's got oil in it, and I was advised that anything with oil or anything like that you've got to be careful with, because if any shot gets down into here, it can affect bearings and whatnot. So that's the reason why I didn't get that shot blasted, because someone asked me about that. So yeah, that's the piping done for that. Suspension components. This is off a 172 or 182, and the RS stamp ones are meant to be better flowing. So I thought, while I was getting a batch done, I'd get this done and I'll sell it to the Renault Clio Sport 4 owners. I think with it being shot blasted. I think they usually go for about 40, but with it being freshly powder coated, I may ask for a little bit more, but we'll see. I'll put that listing, or if anybody wants it, just let me know, and obviously I can keep that back for you. And the last three bits is the oil feed tube, not the feed tube, the dipstick to check the level of fuel, get the words out, oil, and finally the bottom half of the engine, the oil pan, and the base. Looking pretty shiny, and yeah, and that's come up well as well. What I have just started doing off camera is there's no seal, rubber seal, a gasket that goes around here. It's you use, I can't think of the word at the minute, you use like a plastic resin, and when you tighten it up it creates a seal. But what I need to do is, as I've made this start doing, is making sure this face is perfectly smooth and taking out the old rubber that's in there ready for when it's refitted. Same with this one. As you can see here, there's no actual gasket of sorts, so I need to go through all of that, clean the face of it up before it goes back onto the bottom of the engine. So yeah, looking pretty good. That's just given me a real good big encouragement now to get all these bits ready to go back on the engine. So the next thing you'll see me doing is continuing the work on the engine. All the remaining parts that I require, I believe, are either en route or they're here. So as soon as I've painted this, I can start rebuilding it, and having the thought of having the supercharger and all the bits back on that and the engine ready to go back in with the gearbox and all the brand new clutch is great, because that means one of the major components of the car is complete. Then there will be all these little bits and bobs that I need to do and work around, which is going to add a lot of time and effort, and of course the main part, the chassis. The best quote I've had so far is £600, so that's a lot better. That includes the cage and the full strip down, and I think that's quite local as well. So I'll keep doing inquiries into that, because obviously once this engine's ready and all the other bits, the only thing that's holding me back then is going to be the shell of the car, and that, as I said, is going to need a lot of work. So but yeah, for now I'll keep plodding on. I'm really happy that I've got the rest of the powder coated parts, and as I've said previously, thanks all for continued new subscribers coming in. I hope you're enjoying me doing at the garage. I certainly am. Hopefully the flooring will be here either Wednesday or Thursday, so Wednesday or Thursday evening I'll be able to fit the floor and bring that to you. And on Wednesday, if I can't get a better price on the deal that I want for the units at the back here, I've decided that I'm just going to go ahead with the cheapest I can find online and get them ordered. So yeah, plenty more to come still. Again, thanks very much for the new subscribers. Hope you're enjoying the content, and thanks very much for the feedback that I'm getting. I'll catch you all next video.